They called it a reclassification. That was the word they used. Not a punishment, not a dismissal, not a burial. A reclassification. Marker 9 Human Signals Post, formerly a Tier 2 active intelligence node under the joint Vethrani Directorate framework, was hereby redesignated isolated non-functional, Category 4. Its filed reports would be archived as corrupted data. Its operator would receive no further tasking. Its transmission log would remain open, technically, the way a door left ajar is technically open, not because anyone intends to use it, but because no one bothered to close it all the way. I was not in the chamber the day they voted. I was at Marker 9. That was the point, I suppose. I had been at Marker 9 for 11 months when the reclassification order came through. The chamber sat on Vethrani Prime, inside a building the Directorate called the Continuity Hall, a name that has since acquired a certain irony. They voted 41-6 to strip the post's active status. The 6 dissenters were not disciplined. They were simply noted and forgotten, which in the Directorate's bureaucracy amounts to the same thing. The official reason was signal degradation. My reports from Marker 9 had begun arriving with a formatting anomaly, a rounding artifact in the timestamp header, the result of a calibration drift in the relay beacon I had been requesting replacement parts for since month 3. The Directorate's archival system flagged the anomaly. A technical review panel spent 4 days examining it. They concluded that posts operating with timestamp degradation of more than 0.003 seconds could not be certified as producing reliable intelligence. My timestamps were off by 0.007, 7/1000ths of a second. I remember reading the reclassification order twice. The language was precise and thorough, and utterly without malice, which was somehow the worst thing about it. No one had decided to punish me. No one had decided anything about me at all. I was a data quality problem, and data quality problems were resolved through reclassification. I sent an acknowledgment of receipt, as required by Directorate protocol. Then I fixed the beacon myself, with parts I had been cannibalizing from the secondary relay array for the better part of 2 months. The timestamp drift dropped to less than 0.0001 seconds. I noted the repair in my technical log, filed a maintenance report, and continued working. Nobody replied. The maintenance report went into the corrupted data archive, same as everything else I sent after that day. I want to be careful here about what I am describing, because I have had 14 years to think about it, and I know how it sounds. It sounds like defiance. It sounds like a protest, a refusal, a statement. It was not any of those things. It was closer to habit. I had been trained to observe and file. Marker 9 sat at the edge of the Vethrani Reach's secondary approach corridor, which meant that every vessel transiting between the outer shelf and the core systems passed within range of my sensor array. Every one. Military convoys, trade fleets, diplomatic transports, courier drones. The corridor was, in the Directorate's own framework documentation, a Tier 1 intelligence asset, which is why they had built the post there in the first place. They had reclassified the post. They had not reclassified the corridor. So I watched it. I logged it. I filed it. Every 14 days, a burst transmission went out through the door they had left ajar, time-stamped, formatted, cross-indexed by vessel class and registry, annotated with any deviation from baseline transit patterns. Neat, complete, technically delivered through a channel that was still, formally, open. I stopped expecting replies around month 4 of the new arrangement. By month 8, I had stopped noticing their absence. The Directorate did not know what was moving through that corridor for 14 years. That is the sentence I have to be careful with, because it is the one that seems dramatic, and nothing about those 14 years felt dramatic from inside them. It felt like work. Methodical, unacknowledged, slightly tedious work, the kind that accumulates without announcing itself. What I can tell you is what the corridor showed me. I can tell you about the Sorvith cartel's private fleet movements during the 3rd and 4th years, which did not match their declared trade routing by a margin that should have alarmed someone. I can tell you about the Vethrani 9th Carrier Group's repositioning exercises in years 6 through 8, which the Directorate's own strategic planning division would later tell an inquiry panel they had not anticipated. I can tell you about 7 separate diplomatic transports that deviated from their filed courses in ways consistent with dead drop protocol, 3 of them flagged in my reports under vessels belonging to Directorate member states. Every observation, every registration number, every timestamp, 14 years of it, filed correctly, sitting in the Directorate's own corrupted data archive, labeled as unreliable and left unread. The hearing was convened in the 43rd month after the joint treaty framework collapsed. I was not scheduled to testify. I had been summoned as a compliance witness, a formality required when a post's historical records were being audited as part of a broader inquiry into the Directorate's intelligence failures during the treaty period. The chamber was smaller than I had imagined it, having never been to Continuity Hall before. Long table, curved ends, 7 presiding members in the Directorate's formal gray. Lead archivist Sovan Varel at the far left, which is where the Directorate seated its record keepers, the position that implied administrative function rather than authority. I sat across from them. A junior aide placed a data package on the table in front of the presiding member, a senior director named Movath Oral, no relation, and the director opened it. He was expecting a gap. That was the premise of the hearing. 14 years of corrupted, non-functional data, a hole in the Directorate's intelligence picture, a failure they could attribute to equipment degradation, and close without further embarrassment. I watched him read the first entry. He did not look up for a long time. What was in the package was the complete transmission log, every burst, every 14-day cycle, 1,031 filed reports covering the full term of the reclassification. The package had been entered into the Directorate's own archival system 6 days earlier, through the corrupted data intake channel, which had never been formally closed. The Directorate's own intake system had accepted it, assigned it a record number, and routed it to the permanent archive, because that is what intake systems do when you submit a correctly formatted document through an open channel. Archivist Sovan Varel stood. He did not do it dramatically. He stood the way archivists stand when they are required by procedural code to make an oral declaration, slowly, with the particular care of someone who understands that what they are about to say will be in the record for a very long time. He read the entry count aloud. 1,031. He read the date range. He read the aggregate vessel transit figure, which was substantial enough that the number itself required a pause after it. He read the notation I had included at the front of the package, which stated only that all reports had been filed through the Directorate's open transmission channel, that all timestamps were within certified tolerance, and that the attached technical maintenance log documented the beacon repair completed in month 2 of the reclassification period. 0.007 of a second. Nobody said anything. I picked up the one item I had brought with me, a copy of the original reclassification order, the one I had read twice the morning it arrived, and I set it on the table next to the data package. Then I stood, and I left. I do not know what was said after I walked out. I have read the official record of the hearing, which is a matter of public access now, and the record shows that the session was suspended 14 minutes after my departure. It resumed the following morning with a reduced panel. The inquiry into the Directorate's intelligence failures during the treaty period was quietly expanded in scope. The corrupted data archive was formally reclassified, reclassification, their favorite word, as a primary source record. The corridor at Marker 9 was redesignated a Tier 1 active asset under the new joint framework. Someone sent a request to the post, asking whether the relay beacon was operational. I filed a response through the open channel. I noted that the beacon had been operational since month 2 of the original reclassification, and that the maintenance log documenting this had been available in the corrupted data archive for the duration. They did not reply to that one either. Some habits are hard to break.